Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today I'm going to be going over new features in Maptitude 2021. So we are going to start by covering the new data that is available, and we're going to move into some of the actual new tools that we have, such as Maptitude Online, the Huff model, and some new options when doing routing. This whole webinar will be recorded, and you'll receive a link to the recording tomorrow via email, and you should get that around 12:30 Eastern time tomorrow. If you do have questions at any point during the webinar, feel free to type those into the questions box on the GoToWebinar toolbar and just click on send. We'll be answering all questions at the end of the webinar, but if you do have questions, feel free to ask at any time, and we will get to them at the end. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, awesome. So to start out with here, I am just going to be covering the new data that's available. So I'm going to go to the new map of the United States, just choose finish. As always, we update the geographic and demographic data every year. So the geographic data, all of these layers have been updated for the current year. And the demographic data that is embedded within some of them, such as the zip codes and the census tracts and the counties, has all been updated with data from the latest American Community Survey. So that is, I believe, the 2019 5-year. Yep, 2019 5-year ACS. So all of that has been updated. And that's just available out of the box. You don't have to download it or anything as soon as you get, well, you do have to download the actual software, but it's included with that. In addition to that, we do have a few additional free data products that are available if you have the latest version. So those are building footprints. We do include some here in the software, but there is a more complete layer that is larger that's available for download for free if you have the latest version. An address point layer, which contains a number of address points in the United States. And we have some financial assets data, which has things like total asset amounts by, I believe it's sorted by census tract, and it has a number of other things like stocks held and bank account values and things like that. We're also shipping with January 2021 zip code boundaries, so the zip code data is very up to date. And right now, only the US package is available, the latest version, but we are in the process of updating Australia, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, New Zealand, and UK and Ireland packages. And those will also have the latest geographic data. Okay, so let's start to get into actual tools that are in the software now. So the first one we're going to be going over is the Huff model, which is also called the market share wizard, and it's going to allow you to estimate your market coverage versus the competition for either existing locations that you have and you've plotted or proposed locations. So to help show this, I'm going to add a spreadsheet to the map. So I'm going to go to the map menu, choose add table or spreadsheet to a map. I'm going to go to my tutorial folder, and I have this logistics United States sheet that I'm going to add. I'm going to use the sites sheet from that, and I'm going to locate those records by address, zip code, or city. I'm going to import the data, and I don't need a theme. If you're also seeing this as I'm running through this wizard, we've updated a lot of these graphics, so these should give you a better idea of what is actually happening when you're going through this wizard. So you can see things like color themes, you see recolored points, all of this has been updated. Okay, so all 5 of those locations are plotted. There they are. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort these into 2 selection sets. So I'm going to create a new set here. I'm going to call this set my stores. And I'm going to click 2 of the locations. So let's do this one and this one. Click 2 that are pretty far apart. And I'll add one more new set, and we will call it competition. Now you can do this with 2 separate layers. I've done it with 2 selection sets here, but layers will also work, and they're probably going to be more likely what you're used to. So if you decide to import like a spreadsheet with your store locations and a spreadsheet with your competitor locations, that will also work. I'm just using selection sets because it is a bit easier with my sample data that I have. Okay, so now I have a layer of these sites with two selection sets, a selection set with my stores, that's labeled in green here, and then a selection set with my competitor stores, and those are in purple. So now I'm going to go to the Tools menu, choose Analysis, and then I'm going to choose Market Share, Huff Model. So we see an option to select my stores and an option to select competitor stores. My stores are going to be from the sites layer, sets to be my stores. Names will be from the site name. And if you have a weighting field that you want to use, such as the sales for each store or the volume that each store processes, anything like that, you can choose that here from the weighting field dropdown. I don't have a weighting field, so I'm going to leave this on none. My competitor stores are also going to be from that same sites layer, and it is my competition. So you can see here that if you do have a separate layer entirely for competition, you would just choose that layer from this dropdown. So if you imported two separate spreadsheets, this is where you would account for that. So you can choose how you want to create the bands. So I'll be creating bands of equal market share around my stores, and I'll be creating 10 bands of 10% market share per band. If you want, you can also calculate the demographics inside these bands by checking the box for Calculate Demographics. You can customize the demographics by clicking on the Configuration button once you check that box. And if you want to report for those demographics, you can check the box for Create Report. I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to customize any model parameters. We're going to leave this alone, and I'll be choosing Finish. And there we go. So it shows me for all of these points the market share around them, and where that crosses with a different store. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to run this procedure again because I want to get just larger bands. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. You can see it adds a theme to the layer, or I actually want to remove the whole layer. And I'm just going to run that one more time. So Tools, Analysis, Huff. Once again, my stores are going to be my sites, and then my stores set. Competitor stores are also going to be from the sites layer. This time the competition set. Next, we're going to leave this on default and click Finish. I guess it always is that size. Okay, that's fine. So this is going to help us because the next tool that we're going to go over is our new online sharing option, which is Maptitude Online. So if you ever have maps that you've created in the software that you want to upload to the web and share with, say, people who don't have the software, or maybe with the public, then you now have that option. It does require a subscription to Maptitude Online, but you can certainly contact sales about that, or you can check our website. There's pricing information for that all online. To actually share the map, we're going to go to File, choose Share, and then Upload to Maptitude Online. That looks correct. I'm just going to enter my password. Oops. So you basically enter your login information for the sharing site and then hit Login. It's going to prompt me to choose which layers I would like to upload. So in this case, I want to upload my sites layer, and I also want to upload that market share bands layer. If you want to upload any geographic layers, you can. And I'll just call this Huff for, I believe this is Denver. So call it Huff Denver. And if you want to include any fields, you can make sure that those are in this menu here. You can choose Filter to remove fields. So if you only want to upload some of the fields, you can. I'll just be including all of them. So this is a view-only map. I can't make any changes to this, but it's very useful if you want to share a map with the public that you've created and uploaded, or if you want to share a map with users in your organization or non-users in your organization who only need to view the map, they don't need an actual copy of the software, they can just go to the website and view it. So we can click on individual points or hover over them to see information about them. Same goes for areas. So the Huff model doesn't have any features in its areas, so there's nothing I can do with that, but you can hover over individual points here that I've uploaded and see information about them. In addition, you can toggle between different types of backgrounds. So we have options for streets, highways, and you can use aerial imagery for the base map as well. So if you prefer to use aerial imagery instead of the map tiles, you can. You can also toggle on and off layers. So if we want to hide those bands, we can uncheck the color theme, and those will all be hidden. You can search for individual locations by choosing search, entering an address, or just a city and a state. And you can manage things like teams, people you're sharing the maps with, and which maps you're sharing, all through these tabs here. So you can manage teams through the Teams tab. You can manage individual users if you're an administrator using the Users tab. Create a map and account or for new features that I don't believe are available quite yet, but I have in mind. And then you can manage your individual maps using the Maps button. You can also share a map by clicking on Share. And if you want to share with users, you can type in that individual user's username, or I believe if you have a public sharing option, which this particular map is not, you'd have an option to share with the public. And then there's additional options here for deleting the map and exporting images and such. You can also toggle a few extra layers. So if I don't need to see highways or world cities, I can uncheck all that stuff. Okay, so that is a brief overview of Maptitude Online. I want to keep that short. That way we do have time for questions if there are any. Going through additional features here, we have updated all of the routing tools using new routing methods, so the routing should be a lot faster. So you'll notice for long routes, even short routes, so routes anywhere from like 30 plus stops, but you'll certainly notice a difference for like 100 or 200 plus stops. The routing tool should be much faster. That covers the actual routing tool, as well as a few additional tools that use the routing tools. So all that has been updated and made faster. You can also now control speeds by road type. So if we go to the route settings and choose driving speeds and choose target speeds, rather than just using the sliders, you can actually customize the individual speeds of the roads. Mine are in kilometers per hour because that's my system units, but yours will most likely show up in miles per hour if you are using US version of Maptitude. So you can check individual options here and customize the speeds for those. And this should be available in pretty much all of the routing tools. So for example, if I go to Tools, choose Routing and Directions, and then Distance and Travel Timetables, we'll see the same tab here, where you can adjust the factors for speed, or you can choose individual target speeds for the roads. So we've also added a new Google Maps toolbar. So that can be found under Tools. And then I believe, is it Raster? Yeah, Raster, and then Google Maps toolbar. So Google has lately been dropping a lot of the API support for Google Earth. So we've we're basically implementing this to try to assist users who would like to still use that sort of toolbar. And basically, you can zoom to an area. If you click on Google Streets Map, it should pull up a map of that particular area that you're looking at. And this is particularly useful for Street View. So if you want to see a street view of a particular area, let's say I've zoomed in to the area I want to see. So right here, it's going to give me a street view of, I believe, the middle of my screen, where I get to click the location. There we go. And it should give me Street View of the location that I've clicked. So this is really nice if you ever wanted to use Street View in Maptitude. This is pretty much the closest thing to it. You're going to be able to just click on the street that you want to get a street view of, and it'll pop up in a browser and show you the Google Maps Street View. Additional options here are for the Google Satellite Map and the Google Terrain Map. They work pretty similarly to the Google Streets Map, but they're just going to show the terrain or the satellite options instead. So if I click on Google Terrain Map, it's just going to show me the same area that I'm looking at, but with the terrain background instead of the streets background. So you can see like mountain ranges and such. And the same goes for the satellite. So it's going to show me the area that I'm currently looking at, but it's going to show me a satellite view. We do still have these layers in the imagery menu. You can still add them through there. So if you go to, let me toggle off this Huff model, map, imagery, you can still overlay satellite and terrain here, but people often do like to switch to Google Maps just to be able to, send the map to someone else. I'm too far zoomed in. Or exactly like that, I'm too far zoomed in to actually use Google Terrain there, so it can be useful for that as well.